Help some people. Carrie Hoyer, she was Dwayne's too. He works at the food pantry with Restoration Ministries down the road. And he was asking, he said they were food pantry.
Hey, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. We'll stand. Pledge allegiance, hold silence. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father in heaven, we thank you for each person that works here at this school. We thank you for the families and the students. We pray your blessing on them, watch over them, give them the desire to learn, and keep them safe. We pray that you would guide us through this meeting tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, welcome everybody. Mission statement. Excellence in education, preparation for life. Note that all members are in attendance. We have public comments at this time. We are on live feed, correct?
Yeah.
So make sure your hair's combed if you have something to say. I should say that.
I'm supposed to cut my hair. Discrimination.
Consent items, Mr. Reed.
Oh, was that a joke about mine?
Your hair looks fine.
Minutes?
Oh, sorry.
I was going right to personnel.
You may have questions, comments on the minutes. Okay, how about the claims and payroll? All presented to you in your board packet. If there are any questions? Christine is here. Okay, personnel?
New hires, I'd like to recommend Jacob Moffler, JV baseball assistant coach as a volunteer, Jolene Reckers, middle school temporary paraprofessional, Sophia Adamski, varsity boys tennis assistant coach, Glenn Knoll, middle school football assistant coach as a volunteer, and Jennifer Sears, part-time nurse for a student that considered medically fragile. Reassignments, Lauren Parr as middle school football assistant coach as a volunteer to a paid position. And two resignations, Casey Anthony Davidson, boys track assistant coach, and Robert May, middle school football coach.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on personnel for Mr. Reed? We have a motion to approve consent items.
I'll motion.
Jamie?
I'll second it.
Heather? All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. At this time, we'll have a public hearing for the 2025 budget, capital project, CPF plan, and the bus replacement plan. Go ahead and start the hearing. Mr. Reed or Christine?
Yeah, Christine's got a presentation for you. So
Okay.
go ahead, Christine.
Okay, we're gonna try something new. I've got the slides on the screen. I didn't put them for you guys, but, and I apologize for my voice. Try my best. This is the same presentation that I sent you guys early last week, so I'm just gonna go through that. This first slide is what we asked for permission to advertise at the last meeting. Just the notice to taxpayers that gives them information on the budget, just some general information on the meeting dates and times and different budgeted funds and the amounts there. So we'll go over each of those funds a little bit more. So the referendum fund revenue, the main source of revenue there is property taxes. Something I want to point out there is that middle line, the property tax cap impact. That's something new that I haven't presented before. It's always been there, but it's something that's really going to start affecting us come 2026. So for an example, 2025, our property tax cap impact was $13,000. For 26, that'll be $173,000 between three different funds. So that's going to be just a decrease in property taxes for us. And what a property tax cap is a limit on the amount of property taxes that a taxpayer pays, which then decreases how much property tax we receive. So then our referendum spending plan, this is similar to the prior years. It's just a plan, it's nothing we're held to. But we budget for improvements to buildings and grounds in the special ed co-op bill. And then here's a comparison from year to year, what was advertised in 25 versus what the budget actually came in at, and then what we're advertising for 2026. And I just want to remind you guys, we always advertise high to make sure we get everything we're entitled to. This tax rate should actually land at what was approved by taxpayers when we initially went out for the referendum at the 21.43 cents. Rainy day gets just one slide because it's pretty simple. The only revenue here are transfers in from other funds, and the state limits that to 10% of our total budget each year. We always carry a budget in the rainy day fund just in case we need to spend it, because it's much easier to do it in advance than to go out for an additional appropriation from the department. So then debt service fund, again, property taxes are the main source of revenue here. With that new lease rental bond coming on, I did consult with Stiefel to get these numbers from them because we don't know what that will actually close at. So when that new amortization schedule comes in, I will forward that to the department and they'll adjust this to reflect actual numbers. So this is just the current bond that we hold, the 2019 GO bond, and that will be paid off in December of 26. Here's our comparison for the debt fund. And again, we're asking high. Stiefel estimates that tax rate will actually land at 9 cents and then 15 cents in 2027 and beyond. So then these next two funds, education and operations, is where the majority of the activity happens. Education fund revenue is driven by student counts. The biggest change you see here is that curriculum materials line at the bottom. We have 0 in there because the state has decided that they're not going to send us a distribution for that anymore. They're going to roll it up into the state tuition support. So I think that could cause some issues in the future with funding, but we'll see what happens. Oh, and I do want to point out that interest line at the top. I always budget conservatively, which the feds, Joe Lansky just told us that the feds did drop interest rates and they are lowering our interest rate in the main checking accounts. I think next month, is that what he said? Soon.
Christine,
Yeah.
the curriculum materials, that's textbook rental?
Yes. Yeah. That's the old lingo.
Correct.
This next slide is our some historical daily membership numbers from 13-14 and beyond. You see those last few years, we've been pretty consistent on enrollment numbers. I did check today and we're at 1340 right now, which is pretty consistent, a little lower. But I always, in my budget estimates, I use 1330. So we're still sitting pretty good there. And official count day is October 1. So then in the next slide are education fund expenditures. 94.53% of those are salaries and benefits. We also pay the impact bill, curricular materials, Chromebooks, that sort of thing from here. Education fund comparison, there's not a whole lot to compare here. I did just note at the bottom there that curricular materials expense is basically not going to be reimbursed anymore. The next fund is the last fund, the operations fund. Main source of revenue again is the property taxes. You can see that the tax impact is felt the most here, that second line. And I do want to point out under other local income taxes, 445,000 of that are local income taxes, which will go away in 2028. So in the next few years, we're going to feel the operations fund is going to feel some decline in revenue. So something we're looking at, paying attention to. Operations fund expenditures, 42% of those are salaries and benefits. And then we pay for transportation, utilities, projects, and just keeping the buildings and the grounds going. And then our comparison here, just again, we're asking high to make sure we get everything we're entitled to. The DLGF does, Department of Local Government Finance, they do set a limit on how much we can raise in property taxes. And that limit this year is right around 4.6 million. So we're asking just a little high to make sure we get all that. So now we've got a couple of graphs here. Net assessed value history. Again, our assessed value went up in 2026. 1.95% in total, 3.5% in LaGrange County, and 0.9% in Steuben. So we weren't sure what that would do, but it did go up. I think that'll drop off here eventually, but we'll see. And then as that went up, our tax rate continued to go down. You see that last column there, the 2026 estimate, that's what I actually estimate our tax rate will come in at 68 cents versus what was advertised in the slides before. So then we've got our bus replacement plan here. There's two sections to this time because you notice in section 1, there are no amounts in column 2026. Because we're not trading in any buses in 2026. The state says we have to hold them for 12 years, and we don't have any that will be 12 years old. So Galen's going to take a 10-year-old bus and put it in the sub pool and purchase a 78 passenger to replace that. And Jeff and I did meet with him and talked about potentially looking at leaving buses on routes a little longer in the years to come to help with those revenue losses. And we're not held to that, we can evaluate that every year. And then this next slide is our capital projects that we see coming up in the next 3 years that are $10,000 or greater using operations fund money. So this doesn't include any of the bond projects that we'll do. And we just keep these consistent each year, just more repair type things like asphalts, bleachers, doors, that type of stuff. And again, we're not held to this. These are just a plan. And then the last slide here are the capital assets that we plan to purchase in the next 3 years. And again, same as the prior slide, we're not held to this. We just keep them the same every year. Just some things that are on the horizon. And that is it. That's it. Do you guys have any questions?
I just have one quick question on slide 16. And I think I texted you about this. This was on the operations fund comparisons.
Okay.
Under the salary enhancements. For the purpose of the budget, I think, didn't you say we used 1,500 for both years for them?
Yes.
Okay.
Anything?
No.
Anybody else have any questions for Christine? Okay,
Thank you, guys.
thank you, Christine.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Justin moves, Aaron seconds. All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Action items, recommendation to approve the field trip for the 3rd grade to the Commons Park in Angola.
Brian, you want to talk about what's going on over there?
Yeah, it's Civil War Days in Angola. They're going to go see a Civil War reenactment. So,
Sounds like fun.
yeah, I think so. That'd be right up my alley. So,
Any questions? Have a motion to approve?
So move.
Aaron? Heather? All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. You have paper before you here, our construction manager for the projects, Mr. Reed.
Yeah, so far we've hired Garmin Miller as our architect for this project, and then we need a construction manager or a CNC construction manager as a constructor. That's what we're looking for. So we received 3 bids from Michael Kinder and Sons, JICI Incorporated, and CME Corporation. And so Brandon and I took a look at those yesterday and talked about it. So based on price, Michael Kinder and JICI were really close when you figure out that cost. And we figured out when we're talking about how many months they'd be working and what that dollar amount would be. We figured 3 months at $4 million. That's kind of what we were looking at. Hopefully it's under that $4 million on the parts that they're going to be doing. That's just kind of how we estimated their cost. So Michael Kinder and Sons was just a little bit cheaper, but yet they've done a lot of work that Brandon's had a lot of knowledge of. He's worked with them quite a bit. I talked to Angola superintendent this morning. He said they've done projects within the last 5 years, and they're great. So under budget and within the amount of time that they say. So I'd like to recommend that we go with Michael Kinder and Sons for this project.
Any questions?
No.
Okay. Jamie moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Jesselyn? All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Superintendent comments?
Yeah, when we're on that project, just a couple of updates. We had a kickoff meeting with Garmin Miller last week. That went well. We met in here for a little bit, then walked around the facilities and just kind of looked at things that we'd be touching. I've met with the staffs in all of our buildings just to kind of reiterate what we were talking about, what our priorities would be. Just to reflect on that, the high school, it's ceiling grid and lights in all of the classrooms and then some of the hallways, some flooring issues, restroom renovations, starting with our student restrooms first, that press box out on the football field, and then classroom furniture. So as I told our staffs, it'd be nice to be able to snap your fingers and all this would be done, but there is a reality to how much you can do in 8 weeks, right? And then still give our custodians time to clean the building. So as we go through this planning phase with them, we'll have to outline what exactly we can do in year 1. So I'm hoping to get a lot of the grid and lights done, the press box, and maybe some of the restrooms. That would be my goal for year 1 at the high school. Middle school and elementary, we have that 2 roof sections to do, one over the 5th grade wing, one over the 4th grade wing. Flooring, again, all of our carpet's old, needs replaced. Student restroom renovations in there as well, classroom furniture, and then playground. So again, as I told them, you only can put so much carpet down in 8 weeks and bring in new furniture and get rid of old. And so we'll just have to see, again, as we go through the planning phases, what all we'll be able to do in year 1. So we meet again with them next week, and I'm sure Michael Kinder and Sons will now be part of the conversation, and we'll start working on getting some of those estimates. I do have a guy coming to talk about furniture next week, and the purpose of having him come is just to walk through some classrooms and give me some ideas, say, hey, if we were going to replace all those cabinets, give me a guesstimate for that. If we're replacing all of the student desk in here, the teacher desk, just those types of things, so we can have an estimate. This is what it's going to cost per classroom to redo these. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully that comes in at a good price, not too scary. We'll see. So that's kind of where we're at on the project right now. Just want to touch base with you on some welding equipment that Ron Knoll has. We have 2 welders out there. One's a TIG, one's a MIG, I believe. Anyways, we're not using those. They pull too much power for what we have out there. So he would like to sell those. He thinks they have a value of around $4 grand or so. If it's all right with you guys, I'll just allow him to sell those. Kind of a thing of maybe a minimum bid, then submit your bid what you want instead of just the first person you saw that gets it, right? So we'll kind of work some type of bid process like that. But he just did get 3 new Miller welders from Ivy Tech. They're not brand new, they're used, but they're in pretty good shape. They do all 3 types of welds, stick, MIG, and TIG. So we got some new ones to replace those. We weren't using those anyways because they pull too much power and we break breakers. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and get rid of those. Okay. We've been planning that suicide drug overdose awareness event along with the Bowen Center. That's scheduled for next Wednesday, September 24th, 5:30 to 7 at the high school track. I believe we have 15 or 16 resource vendors coming, which is a good turnout. And so far, last time I talked to Christina from the Bowen Center, we had well over 100 people registered to come. So, which is higher than we've had. This has been hosted at Lakeland now and Westview, and so we have the highest amount registered so far. So hopefully the weather cooperates. I know it's been sunny and dry forever. It looks like a little rain next week, but we'll see how it goes. The four main sponsors for that event will be the Northeastern Center, Crossroads United Way, the Warehouse, and Parkview LaGrange. So September 24th, next Wednesday. Okay. That's what I have. Brian, what's going on in your world?
So the PTO just wrapped up their fundraiser. They did a little bit different this year. In the past, we've used a company, Step It Up. This year, they decided to try and do it all independent. They didn't raise as much money. They raised just under $25,000, but because they're doing it all themselves, I think we're going to bring in more than we have in the past. And I mean, that's awesome. So I'm really proud of what our PTO was able to accomplish. And then we're going to cap it off with it's now called Panther Hype Day, previously the Day of Awesomeness. That happens tomorrow. So if you want to see me in the dunk tank, I'll be there. So lots of fun stuff happening.
How much does that cost?
Well,
Free for you.
and true. I mean, yeah, you're welcome. But kiddos had to earn $50 or bring in $50 per ball. So yeah, they had to earn it. But there will be a lot of staff members out there, not just me. But yeah, fun stuff. Staff members are going to be dressed up in inflatable costumes, racing each other, I guess. So yeah, a lot of wacky things.
AJ is
will be happening. Yeah.
He's been talking about it for weeks.
Well, I've been looking forward to the tank.
I'm sure you have.
And then we also had a really cool opportunity from Trine University. They reached out a few weeks ago, and the Philharmonic was coming out to do both music and a read aloud for some of our younger students. So we kind of moved quickly and took advantage, and our K1 students went, I believe it was last week. We got to see that, super positive feedback. Really great opportunity. We have a lot of students that wouldn't get to have that experience otherwise. So very excited for that. Andy and I have been meeting with Cassie Scarcella to talk about PD for literacy moving forward in the school year. She'll just talk to her today. Lots of things in the work for that, and I'm really excited for what our staff's going to get out of that. We have Homecoming College Go Week coming up in just a week. Yeah, in a week.
Next week. Yeah.
So we'll have dress-up days. Mr. Troyer has been doing a great job of organizing things that go with those. We talked about different types of career paths and then college pathways as well. But one thing he always organizes is a touch a truck event. So we'll have police vehicles, fire trucks, REMC, just a lot of different representation there from the community, and kiddos get to see and talk to the individuals that would drive those vehicles. We also have the iLearn checkpoints coming up. We're starting practice tests next week and the actual checkpoints the week after. So that'll be new for our staff this year, but I'm looking forward to the data it gives. And then also in addition to our Panther Hype Day tomorrow, we're doing a hat day to help support the Volley for a Cure Heavenly and Katie. So $1 to wear a hat as well tomorrow. So lots of fun things going on throughout the building right now.
Brian touched on a lot of things. I'll hit on the PD too. In addition to the reading PD, which is going to be elementary and middle school is doing some math PD. We've had a chance to meet with her. The teachers have too. Very positive so far. Just kind of getting things going on that, but it's been a positive relationship, and looking for good results from that. Brian touched on their fundraiser. We had a successful fundraiser as well. I can't thank the community enough for their generosity. Pretty special on that. We were right around $25,000 as well, so pretty awesome on that. We just got done with NWA testing. We're only testing NWA in the fall and the spring, and reading in English. Starting to look at data on that and see how that goes, and make some plans on that and see how we progress through that. Recently did some para training with the help of mentor Becca Rassler and Cassidy Woolheater, just working through our IAs with some things. And they really appreciated that because they don't get a ton of training. So the information that they got was, they felt like it was good, and it's something that's practical and something that they can use and better their practices. And then the last thing, based on student recognition, got some feedback from the staff that they wanted some change up on how we do Student of the Month. So we are gonna change that up and call it Panther Pride of the Month, recognize a few more kids, do some, things with that, and, just trying to change it up a little bit and freshen it up a little bit. And we'll have our first one of those here coming up from the start of the year in October 3rd. So see how that goes, and hopefully it's good. So that's what's going on at the middle school.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen. Anybody else have anything, announcements? We'll be adjourned at 6:27. Thanks for coming. We have a executive session right after this.
I think you guys will be happy with Mike McKendry. We do a lot of work with them.
Heard good things about them, so yeah.
Yeah, they're a good company. They'll do a good job.
Good.
Okay, have a good evening.
You too. Jeff, do you want me to do